Hello, everyone, and welcome to Across the Goal Line. Corey Maines with me is, of course, Luke Goddessart. How are you today, Luke?
Pretty good, Corey. Today we have another special guest. We'll get into him in a little bit. He's going to be talking about some NBA Summer League action that took place within the last month in Orlando, Florida, and Las Vegas, Nevada. But then I want to say the music you've been listening to start off each week now is another local band from around here, 969, and then At Hope's End. They are both no longer together, but we're grateful of them to let us use their music for our entrance each week now. So I just wanted to throw that out there and not get people confused with Silence Our Perdition. We do an ad for them, which they'll be on this week again. So just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, we have a special guest. Derek Crin's his name. You can look him up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We'll get into him in a little bit.
All right. If it sounds like things are a little bit weird right now, it's because we're at a different location this week. Last week we mentioned the Clearfield County Fair, and that is where we are. We are live this week from the Clearfield County Fair. So if you hear we're actually outside right now, so maybe you'll hear some wind or some other
noises,
external noise maybe. That's why. So just a little disclaimer for all the listeners out there. So today it is episode 17, and with it we have these topics. We have what went down at UFC 201, along with the MLB Trade deadline, the results for the PGA Championship from Baltusrol, and the NBA Summer League, as Luke mentioned. Also, we have a preview of the Olympic Games, and of course, we have your weekly NASCAR result. But first, the results for last week's poll, in which we asked, what's better, winning a title in your respective sport or winning gold for your country? And you guys were split right down the middle, 50-50. So don't really shed any light on that in terms of our viewers. So we'll just leave it at that. So now your weekly NASCAR result. It was on Monday because Sunday got rained out at Pocono, and actually weather would play a big factor in the race. And on Monday too, as it didn't finish and was called with 22 laps remaining due to fog. And thanks to the foggy conditions, Chris Buescher picked up the victory for his first career Sprint Cup win. I think first career win period in NASCAR. He was in the Xfinity Series last year, and he picks up the win here. His only laps led this season were this day on Monday. 12 laps led. Relative no-name in the Sprint Cup Series, but he's going to be in the chase now thanks to picking up a win. And this is a fun fact right here. With the rain out on Sunday, Pocono became the first track to have both races postponed in the same season.
Wow, I didn't know that, Corey. That's an interesting stat. I got another interesting stat for you. Front Row Motorsports, for who Chris Buescher races for, it was their first win in the Sprint Cup Series since David Reagan took home the checkered flag at Talladega 118 races ago, which is about 3 years ago. It was in October of 2013. But yeah, as you said, Buescher won his first career Sprint Cup race after the race was red flagged on lap 138 of 160 due to fog, as you said. And yeah, it was at Pocono. I didn't go again, as I said last week. Fair's in town this week. Have some priorities over there, as I said last week as well. So happy for Buescher. He's in the chase. As you said, he's pretty much a no-name driver, but I mean, look at Dale Earnhardt, look at Richard Petty. Back when they first started, they were no names, and look what they turned into, two NASCAR Hall of Famers.
Exactly. Maybe this can be a stepping stone for him, but you have to give him. Well, you can't. I don't know if you can really give him credit because he does pick up the win thanks to the weather conditions cutting the race short. Who knows who would have stayed in the lead for the rest of the race? Because the rest of the top five was Brad Keselowski, then you had Reagan Smith, Kevin Harvick, and then Tony Stewart. They were in the top five, so I know at least three of those guys.
Yeah, three of those other four
very established racers.
Yes.
So those guys definitely could have taken over for that top spot from Buescher late on the race, but thanks to the weather, he ends up picking up the race win. And next week, road course for the second time this season, Watkins Glen. It's a pretty iconic racetrack, I would think. It's one I am familiar with, playing NASCAR games and whatnot back in the day. I don't really watch much NASCAR now, but I used to back early 2000s, I would say. So
I watch it every week, as a lot of people know, but I actually missed the race since it was supposed to be on Sunday, and then they, moved it to Monday. With it being postponed there. But yeah, Watkins Glen road course. They only do 2 road courses a year. It's up in New York, not that far from where we're at right now. So we got a couple close tracks. We also have Dover, which is down in Delaware, and then you have Richmond down in Richmond, Virginia, and Martinsville in Martinsville, Virginia. 2 short tracks, 3 short tracks, mile and a half. I think Martinsville is a half mile, which over here at the Clearfield County Fair, which we are recording live from right now, has a half-mile track where they also do some races, notably harness races, horse races. They used to have demolition derbies back in the day, but they decided to do away with those. But I'll leave it at that. Yeah, Boucher is in the chase now after picking up a win at Pocono this past week, and then they're at Watkins Glen next week, as we said.
Yes, and it will be on Sunday, hopefully. So you can, well, you probably will watch it either way, but...
On USA for the first time all year, too. USA is part of
yes.
the NBC network, and the previous races since NBC took over for Fox at the beginning of July have been on NBC Sports Network. So they're moving over to USA this weekend. So be sure to check out USA this Sunday afternoon.
Yes. All right, we'll move on now. UFC 201, we previewed it last week. We'll give you the results this week. As we typically do when we preview something, we got to give you the results. So it was Saturday night, and it featured 5 main fights that we actually predicted. There was also another 5 or so on the preliminary rounds. They like on Fox Sports 1 and other channels that you could probably watch for free, not having to pay for it. We'll go through the matches that we actually predicted, and so we'll begin with Ryan Benoit. He defeated Freddie Serrano by a split decision, 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28. Eric Perez defeated Francisco Rivera by unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-26, 29-28, the round scores. And Rivera and Perez, they had a close first round in this match, but Perez looked way looser after the first round, and he ended up making the necessary adjustments that he needed, and then Rivera did not make those adjustments and didn't get back into the fight. Just Perez was too much for him in the end. Jake Ellenberger defeated Matt Brown by TKO at the 146 mark in the first round, and he took him out with a kick to the liver region after Brown had been pressing him. Matt Brown was pretty much dominating this match for the most part. Then Ellenberger took him down for a little bit, started beating on him, got a good right hand in. Then Brown came back, pressed him, made this kick, ends up taking him out in the 146 in the first round. The women's match, Karolina Kowalkiewski defeated Rose Namajunas by split decision, 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28 in the women's strawweight match. And then the main event, Tyron Woodley defeated Robbie Lauer by KO at 2 minutes and 12 seconds of the first round to pick up the championship. He blasted him with a right hand in this match. It just completely took out Lawler. And now we have another new champion, as just back in UFC 200 we had the women's champion, bantamweight title changing hands, Miesha Tate picking it up, or losing, I forget. Yeah, she picked it up, I think it was. Well, no,
Miesha Tate lost it.
Yeah, she lost it.
Yeah, Miesha Tate lost it at UFC 200, and it seems like the women's, there's 4 women in UFC now that could, be the champion, because they all were at one point and they all lost it. But yeah, Tyron Woodley going back to UFC 201 now, just knocked out Robbie Lawler in the first round, as you said there, Corey.
Very impressive. And I don't think many people gave Woodley a chance in this fight. Well, especially what he did. No one was thinking that was going to happen. I mean, a main event match like that just abruptly ends like that. Possible 5-round match just
in the first round.
In the first round, just now 1 round. Boom, you're out. Probably disappointed for people there. At least they didn't get their money's worth. Probably a lot of quick matches. You had 2 first round, 1 a TKO, 1 a knockout, but a bunch of quick matches there at UFC 201. But either way, I'm sure people went home happy. I'm sure, especially Tyron Woodley, who is now the new champion. So we'll move on now to the PGA Championship. I do believe it was the 98th annual PGA Championship. I'll have to look that up again. I didn't look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was, 98th. It was from Baltusrol Golf Club in Springfield, New Jersey, and saw Jimmy Walker win going wire to wire after he was leading after all 4 rounds. He shot a 65, 66, 68, and 67 in rounds 1 through 4 to score a 14 under par score throughout the entire tournament, just to secure his first major title. And that makes it 5 straight guys for first-time winners for majors. And actually, now it's entire calendar year 4 guys with first-time majors. So, first-time major winners, I should say. And that was the first time since 2011 so that we had a whole calendar year of guys that have won their first majors. So now we have 5 straight, as I mentioned. We had, going back to Jason Day last year at PGA, then we had Danny Will at the Masters, Dustin Johnson at the U.S. Open, Henrik Stenson at the Open, and now we have Jimmy Walker here picking up the PGA Championship. And he had to beat out the defending champion Jason Day, as I just mentioned. And Jason Day finished at 13 under par, and he was looking to become the first man to defend a major title since Padraig Harrington did at the Open back in, I think, 2008 and 2009. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe earlier, I think that's what I saw whenever they were previewing it and during the coverage of the PGA Championship. But he was looking to become the first man to defend. Rain also plagued this event much like Pocono over the weekend, as the third round was pretty much all washed out with 6 pairings. Basically all the leaders, that is, they did not even start the round. So they ended up playing all of round 3 and the final round on Sunday. They had to squeeze all that in, and Walker, of course, ended up coming out on top. It was another exciting finish to this major because Jason Day went into the 18th hole down 2, and he needed an eagle on the 18th hole, which is a par 5, by the way. So his second shot in the par 5, he ended up hitting one nice and close, about 15, 20 feet for an eagle chance, and he nails it to get to 13 under. So he's tied with Walker, but no, he's not, because before that even happened, Walker's on the par 5 17th. I just want to mention here that Baltusrol only has 2 par 5s, and it's 17 and 18. So the last 2 holes on the golf course are both par 5s, which is an interesting thing, especially for something like this. You have to, I'm not thinking of the words here, but either way, he was on the par 5 17th, and he birdied it before Day even putted his eagle putt. So he was down 3, so ended up after the eagle, he's down 1 now. So he has to sit back at the clubhouse and hope that Walker screws up on 18. The par 5, which is easy to make at least a par on because it's a par 5, especially for the professionals. But it looked like Walker possibly might cave in here. He had a pretty short drive just to get it in the fairway, and then his approach was wayward as he ended up on the right side in the rough behind a bunker, and he needed to have a pretty good shot to hopefully get a par. But all he really needed to do was pop it onto the green 2-putt, which is exactly what he did. And luckily for him, it is a par 5. If it was a par 4, he'd been in a lot more trouble. He would have had to make par, but he ended up having 2 putts to win, and he did it so with ease, and now he is a first-time major winner. Another guy, he's actually the lowest-ranked guy, I think 48th in the world, to win a major, first-time major, I think it is actually technically, since Keegan Bradley at the PGA Championship as well, back in 2011, I do believe it was. And Keegan Bradley was 108 in the world at the time. And another thing about Walker is that he's the first wire-to-wire champion at the PGA Championship since Phil Mickelson did it back in 2005 at none other than Baltusrol Golf Course. So that's another interesting fact, another little piece of history, or some I would say. But yeah, nevertheless.
Do you like what you hear? If so, you need to check out Silence Our Perdition, a metal band from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. They're fairly new in the music industry, but they're on the rise. Some songs include Slaves to Obedience, Never, 6, Left and Soulless, and An Untold Story. Be sure to like Silence Our Perdition on Facebook and follow at SO Perdition on Twitter. You can contact them on either Facebook or Twitter. Do you like hunting, fishing, or talking about the outdoors? If so, you need to check out Downriver Outdoors, an outdoors channel on YouTube that brings you some of the best footage of hunting and fishing from the backwoods of Central PA. They also tell some great outdoors stories. Be sure to subscribe to Downriver Outdoors on YouTube. Now we move into some NBA Summer League action, and with that we have another special guest with us today, Derek Wren. He is our third special guest we've had on the show across the goal line so far since we started back in April already. Our first one was a good friend of ours who we can just say is a average Joe basketball fan. He previewed the NBA Finals for us. And then we had Brandon Orsic on a couple weeks ago talking about the NBA All-Star break. The MLB All-Star break. And a preview to the second half, a recap of the first half of the MLB season. But now, as I said, we have another special guest here on Across the Goal Line. His name is Derek, and he's going to be previewing some stuff for next season and giving a recap of the NBA Summer League. So how you doing today, Derek?
Hey, Luke, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, Derek. If you do good, we might have you back. Orsic, he might not be back. He got a little mad at us, as I said a couple weeks ago. Go back and listen to that video. But yeah, Derek is a basketball guru, pretty much an NBA guru. I'd say he watches the NBA more than he does college. I might be wrong on that, though. He could, say otherwise. But
that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, the NBA Summer League always takes place in Orlando, Florida, at the center where the Orlando Magic play at, and their practice facility, I should say, not the Amway Center where they play at. And then also in Las Vegas, Nevada, towards the end of June, early July to middle of July. They also have played in Salt Lake City, Utah, for a year. They did that last year, but that was only a one-time thing. They didn't go back to that this year. But let's get into some of the games for this year's NBA Summer League. But first, I want to recap some of the draft, the top 3 picks, because that's who we're really, really going to be talking about, and a top pick last year in the draft. Ben Simmons went number 1 overall to the Philadelphia 76ers. Your Philadelphia 76ers, Derek. How do you feel about Ben Simmons going to the Philadelphia 76ers, first of all?
Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They call me biased or whatever, but he was the 100% clear-cut right pick for my Sixers. I said it even when he played his first game at LSU. I didn't think it was possible because I didn't think we were going to get that number 1 pick in the lottery. When we did, I was thrilled. But stress came a couple weeks after that for me because there were talks like, oh, maybe they'll go Brandon Ingram, maybe they'll go Jamal Murray, Chris Dunn, But the whole time I was really hoping they would steer towards Ben Simmons because none of these prospects can really give you what he gives you on every night. He's basically going to be a triple-double machine once he plays his first NBA game. He's just a great centerpiece for the Sixers to build their team around, to keep building on, especially with getting Joel Embiid back this year, and with those 2 other bigs in Nerlens Noel and Jalil. And they're bringing Saric over, and they got a big collage of 6'10", 7-footers, a lot of big guys, but I think it's gonna eventually play into their favor because they already have trade value, and their guards are looking a little better every year. So, and they added 2 key pieces this year, and veterans Gerald Henderson and Jared Bayless. So I think they're gonna play real well along Ben Simmons. And back to Ben, he's going to make all those guys look even better than they already are, which is going to be scary. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, pretty much the face of the Philadelphia 76ers at the moment. As you said, they have a lot of other young talent. There are a lot of young teams in the National Basketball Association at this moment. Currently, as you said, yeah, Ben Simmons should be a triple-double machine in every single game of his NBA career. Hasn't really even started yet. He's played in NBA Summer League games, and that's what we're talking about right now. His first game, he had 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then another game that we're going to be talking about, he had 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. So he's getting there. I mean, yeah, he's obviously done it in college already at LSU. His father, I believe, played basketball in Australia.
Yes,
that's why he was from Australia, and then he decided to come to the United States of America to play college basketball. for a year and then, go to the NBA. And then, as you said about Brandon Ingram, the debate on, who the Sixers were going to take with that number 1 pick. Obviously, the Sixers took Simmons with that number 1 pick. Brandon Ingram went number 2 to the Los Angeles Lakers. The third game we're going to be getting into featured both the Lakers and the Sixers. We'll get into that here in a moment. But the first game we're going to talk about featured the number 3 pick in this year's draft as well, Jaylen Brown, who my Boston Celtics picked. I really didn't like the pick at first, but after he played a couple games in the Summer League, after I watched some, he impressed me some. I thought they should have took Chris Dunn, who you're real high on.
Absolutely.
Who went number 5 or number 6 in this year's draft, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there, Derek.
Right, yeah.
5 to the Timberwolves.
Yeah, 5 to Minnesota.
Yeah, Corey's still with us here, too. He hasn't fallen asleep yet. As I said last week, I rambled on about the AFL and the CFL and the NFL. Yeah, he's still hanging out here with us. He's the host, obviously. I'm doing this segment with Derek. But, yeah, Chris Dunn, I thought the Celtics should have took at 3. They obviously didn't see. They obviously saw something better in Jaylen Brown than they did in Chris Dunn. And Jaylen Brown put up 16, 6, and 2. That's 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists, if you don't know basketball knowledge, in the first game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Your Philadelphia 76ers, as I'll say it a lot today, 102 to 94. And then Ben Simmons had the 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Second game featured Brandon Ingram. The Lakers defeated the Pelicans by 20 points. 85 to 65. Brandon Ingram had 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then D'Angelo Russell, who was the number 2 pick in the 2015 NBA draft to the Los Angeles Lakers, had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Say he didn't play, he didn't score those 20 points, the game would have been tied most likely at the end of the game. Could have went to overtime. The Pelicans could have won it then. We might not even be talking about this game right now. But we are, because it features top two picks in the past 2 NBA drafts, just putting up monstrous numbers, and pretty much practice games. That's pretty much what the NBA Summer League is, in my opinion. Doesn't really count. It's like the NHL preseason. It's like the NFL preseason. It's like MLB spring training. Excuse me. Just to get a see and a feel of how players are gonna, play with other players, new players coming in, and then it gives the fans an opportunity to see, what these players are actually all about too, and why they're being paid, so much money. Which I'll say again, athletes are paid too much money. That was our question of the week a couple weeks ago. We had a poll on that. I can't remember what the results were. Do you remember what the results were there, Corey?
I think it was favorably no.
No?
I think it was about 60-40.
Okay. Moving on, third game featured both the Lakers and the Sixers. Top 2 picks in this year's draft. Ben Simmons, Derek really likes. I really like Christian Hackenberg. I'm more of a football fan, than a basketball fan. I've always just liked football better. But anyways, I'd say that's the comparisons right there. I love Christian Hackenberg. I like Christian Hackenberg as a player about the same amount as Derek Rinn over here likes Ben Simmons. I could be wrong though. Anyways, the third game, as I said, it featured the Lakers and Sixers. It was a close game, and the Lakers defeated the Sixers by a score of 70 to 69. Yes, 70 to 69. Not getting any closer than that. 1 point. Ben Simmons had 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, and then Brandon Ingram had 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. Derek, do you have any input, any thing you would like to say about the Sixers in general, even more because 2 of those 3 games featured your Sixers, or the 3 games that I just talked about?
Yeah. Well, back to what I was saying, like the conversation of who probably should have been number 1 pick. Ingram. I really like this game because I said a long time ago on lottery night when people were thinking, "Oh, Ingram's a better fit in Philly." I love this. This game was probably my favorite one because it basically proved my point that Simmons was the better pick for us. He put up, I believe, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in that game. Brandon Ingram's stat line was 7 points, 1 assist, and 4 rebounds, something like that. Yeah. So, like I said, Simmons is when you can find an all-around player who does what he does, give you triple doubles, make your team better as a whole, then yeah, you can't go wrong with that. But I'm not knocking Ingram at all. I actually loved him at Duke. I didn't want him for our team. I just didn't. I think he'll eventually build himself into a great scorer in the league because his length is just incredible. He's got like a 7'2" wingspan, something like that, and he's very, very aggressive defensively. He can block any shot. He can basically guard anybody on the floor. I think he's athletic enough. Yeah, so I'm not knocking him at all. I think he's going to have a great career.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram, as you said, went to Duke. I like Duke basketball. They're my favorite team in college basketball. A lot of people are saying that Brandon Ingram he resembles Kevin Durant a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anything in Brandon Ingram that Kevin Durant had young in his career?
Oh yeah, he's got that same type of body build that KD had when he was at Texas. I think there's a video on YouTube that shows the side-by-side comparisons of how similar their game is. Like when KD was in college at Texas and Brandon Ingram, you can basically, it kind of reminded me of that Kobe MJ comparison. Like that, they had the same go-to moves, same looking step-back jumper or something like that. And Ingram and KD, that's basically the same thing. KD, obviously, he's a little bit taller, and he grew a little bit, or he got himself a little bigger when he got into the NBA, and I think Ingram can do that. He's already on, he's eating a lot more, I guess. The Lakers have him on some
meal
type of diet. Yeah, they got him on a meal plan where he eats 6 meals a day or something. So I think eventually he's gonna really, he's really gonna get bigger like KD does now. KD really looks like an NBA star now. Like he didn't in college. He looked like, oh, this kid's too skinny or whatever. But
he better be an NBA star.
Yeah,
he just signed a deal with the Golden State Warriors there,
right,
leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder there a couple weeks ago,
yeah.
about last month now.
Yeah, I believe Ingram's going to have the same type of game to him, but I don't think he's, not to knock him or anything, but he's not going to be what KD is now. He's going to be a little, KD's just always going to be a little
higher,
up. Yeah, KD's just a one of a kind.
Yeah, I mean, everything takes time. I say that all the time. It's, for pretty much everything. Some kids got to mature once they enter the NBA. Some kids got to mature when they enter the workforce, coming out of high school or coming out of college. And as you said, there probably is a video on YouTube of them, side by side. You can pretty much find anything on YouTube nowadays. And you can find this podcast, Across the Goal Line, on YouTube. Hopefully that's how you're listening to it. Should be the only way you're listening to it, because we only put it up on YouTube once a week. We've thought about putting it up on other sites, but yeah, I mean, Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell are both playing for the Lakers. One more question for you about the Lakers. Who do you think really will be the face of the franchise, especially with Kobe Bryant retiring this past season after 20 long seasons with the Los Angeles Lakers?
D'Angelo Russell, easily. They took him number 2 overall last year. Had a pretty decent rookie year for playing behind Kobe in his last season. So, and I think this coming year he's really gonna, after what he showed in summer league, he's really these next couple of years are really going to be important for him, because he's got some big shoes to fill now that Kobe's gone, and he's got to step into that star role. I know he had that He had that problem with Nick Young, Swaggy P, but
Iggy.
Yeah,
Azalea,
that was a big
whatever
mess.
last name
That was a big mess, but I don't think you can't really take away anything from his game just because that stuff happened. I mean, he was playing with, it's like a 19-year-old kid playing with Kobe Bryant in Los Angeles. Like, you can't expect him to mature right away. It's gonna come, but you can't just expect that right away. He's got some time to develop into a star, and I think he will. He's really gonna be the next superstar in Los Angeles.
Very well then. Yeah. I'd have to say Brandon Ingram. I mean, I don't know what Corey has to say on any of this. Get him in the fold here. Did you watch any of the Summer League, Corey?
I watched a few games, especially the LA-Philly game. I did watch. That was a crazy game.
Oh, yeah.
D'Angelo Russell hit the game-winning shot in that game. Initially, hit a go-ahead 3 to begin with. Then, thanks to posturing, he ended up giving up the layup to the Philadelphia 76ers for them to take the lead, but then ended up hitting the game-winner anyway. I think it would be D'Angelo Russell going forward at this moment, especially next year. He will be, probably. He'll take right over for Kobe. He's going to pick off right where Kobe left off, I would think. He's just built for that. He's more of a scorer than a point guard. He's listed as a point guard, at least it was in the draft, but he's a big scorer. I know that. He'll be a more Kobe type, and because he'll shoot a lot more than he'll pass, I'm sure, because that's just what he does. You saw in the Summer League, he scored over 20 points a whole bunch of times. He averaged, I don't know how many points in the Summer League. I'm sure about 15 or so, maybe. I don't really know that.
16.
16,
like
yeah, okay. So, yeah, I think he'd be better fit, especially at this moment. But it depends on how Ingram develops, how he builds himself to be more NBA ready, especially right now. I mean, he's just coming out of college, first season coming up here. He's not going to be superstar this year, that's for sure. We'll just have to see how he is in like 2 or 3 years' time.
Very well again. You're leaving me speechless. I really don't know what to say because, I mean, like I said a little bit ago, the NBA has so much young talent. The same thing with baseball. It's
Definitely.
pretty much phenomenal. I'll quote, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. It's phenomenal that this is happening, that we get to see this. It doesn't really come around that often. Probably about 20 years ago was the last time because, look, now how many people have retired from their respective sport? I saw the all retired team for the National Football League. It had Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, just to name a few. And then you got all these young guys. Teams got to rebuild, every couple years. I mean, and not to make fun of the Sixers or anything, Derek, but that's what it seems like the Sixers have been doing. The past, I don't know how many years. I know they made the playoffs a couple years ago when they still had, I forget what his name is a current...
Drew Holiday.
Well, I'm thinking of the head coach.
Doug Collins?
Yeah, Doug Collins. He's currently an analyst on ESPN.
Right.
NBA on ESPN. So, it seems like they've been rebuilding, but hopefully, hopefully a lot of these teams... especially the Sixers, they've been in the dumps for a while.
2013 was the year they threw it all away and started to rebuild. That's how long this has been going on. They traded for traded Drew Holiday to the Pelicans for Nerlens Noel, the draft rights to Nerlens Noel, and we've been in this trust the process thing for about 4 years.
3 or 4 years now.
4 years.
That last playoff appearance would have been, I'm pretty sure it's the same series. They were the 8th seed the year that Derrick Rose tore his ACL in the playoffs.
Yes.
And Derrick Rose hasn't been the same since either.
And they won that series.
They did.
Got beat to your Celtics in the next round.
Just about ready to say that. I remember that because I have a good memory about sports. I actually remember watching one of those games. It might actually have been Game 5, 6, or 7 in that series. I'm not sure, but that's what I was referring to because I remembered about Doug Collins. That had been 3-4 years ago already now. Holy crap.
Yeah. Doug Collins is a great coach. I mean, I think Brett Brown's going to be great too, but yeah, Doug Collins, he's probably one of my other than Larry Brown. I think Doug Collins was number 2 on my favorite Sixers coaches.
All right. Yeah, Derek Rose, as we said just a second ago, too, he's playing for the New York Knicks now. They traded him back at the end of June, early July. As I said, the Sixers are young. Another team in the NBA that is young is in the West that I think should be in the East. I agree with Mark Cuban, who you can watch on Shark Tank. He is a proud Big Ten alum from Indiana University. He's currently the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He proposed an idea to the National Basketball Association, the NBA, of not relocating some teams, but reassigning teams to each conference. And he had thought that the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's who I'm about ready to talk about, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the T-Wolves, should go to the East because they have a lot of young talent. They drafted Andrew Wiggins, number 1, about 2 years ago now. And they also have Tyus Jones, who we should have been talking about a lot in this Summer League action, but we haven't because he was named MVP of the Summer League, mainly because the Timberwolves were a good team. They were playing in the championship game there. They ended up losing to the Chicago Bulls 84-82 in overtime. And another rookie this year, Tyus Jones going into his second year. Another rookie this year, besides Ingram and Simmons and Jaylen Brown for the Celtics, is Denzel Valentine. Played for the Michigan State Spartans for 4 years. One of the players that how should I word this? A lot of players only go to college for 1 year if they play basketball, and then they go to the NBA. Valentine was there for all 4 seasons up at Michigan State. He had, in this game, the championship game, he had 7 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. He actually had the game-tying 3 to force the game to overtime, and then he had the game-winning 3. So, I mean, to wrap up the Summer League, I'm going to let Corey talk to Derek a little bit more about previewing the next season. Maybe get Derek's prediction there on who he thinks is going to be in the finals, maybe even win the finals next year. I know it's August 4th, 2016. The NBA season just got over, so Derek, if he does, would be giving a way too early prediction for the playoffs next year for the NBA. So the Bulls won the NBA Summer League to wrap things up. We'll get Derek's opinion on some other stuff here as well shortly. And then I just wanted to throw this out there too. As I said, games are played in Orlando, Florida, and Las Vegas, Nevada. Some of these teams compete in both of these tournaments in both locations. Some of them only compete in one. I know the Lakers only compete out west because why would they come east when some of those teams that also, play down in Orlando will come out to Las Vegas. Sin City has been in the news a lot lately too. Might be getting a football team. They got a hockey team. Maybe they just need an NBA team now.
Well, I gotta tell you, there actually was a Utah Summer League this year. That's where the Celtics Sixers played, but that wasn't.
I thought that was last season.
No, it was this season.
Okay,
it's not that long, but it's only teams that were in it were the Celtics, Sixers, Spurs, Jazz, and I believe that was it. I think there was only 4.
All right,
but that's
thank you though for correcting me. I got to get my facts straight.
Absolutely,
there on that.
No, that's no problem. That's not one of the important ones. Definitely the Orlando Summer League and Vegas are the most. They're probably the more popular ones. No one really goes to the Utah ones. If you look at the crowds, they're not really. It's not that crazy. Like you could probably get in for a real cheap price. But yeah, but the Summer League. I mean, if I had one thing to say about it, I know people don't think it's that important, but it's just exciting for just basketball, diehard basketball fans, just to be able to have some basketball on TV. Because for me, I'm not that into baseball anymore, so it's nice to be able to look forward to like watching watching basketball keep going like throughout the year. And there's a lot of there's been a lot of not very highly rated prospects that were drafted. Like they've come into summer league and they've shown out. Like they've played they went through their rookie year, didn't play much, and the next year you're like, oh, he must have really developed well. Like he was only a second round pick like a year or two ago.
Hard work pays off.
Right. And two guys that really impressed me this year were 2 second round picks, and one of them was from the Raptors. And you never know. Like if you see him, if you see the Raptors Cavs back in the Eastern Conference this year, you might this guy might step up. Like if there's some injuries or something. It's that Norman Powell from UCLA. He was drafted, I think, in 2015 to the Bucks. He was traded to the Raptors and on that night for Grievous Vasquez, I believe. And he was a late second round pick, and now I guess they really like him. He averaged about 17 or 18 points. They just love him. Like he can knock down. They trust him to just knock down open shots and everything like that. And then the Cavs, if they're ever at loss for a guard, they have that Kay Felder from Oakland. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No, I haven't.
He really impressed me in the summer league. He played, he plays point guard. He was one of the. I think he's top 3 or 4 point guards in this year's draft, and he was taken late in the second round. Great. He's got a great body build. Kind of reminds me of Chris Paul. So, I mean, you never know. Like in 2014, the year, like that following year, the Cavs were they were back in they were in the finals playing against the Warriors. The year they lost, Tristan Thompson was in the summer league that year. He was playing in the summer league probably every night, just trying to make the roster, and he was probably the Cavs' best player in that series, next to LeBron. And so, you never know. Like if you're watching some guy you never really heard of, like in the summer league, you might see him when it's important, like in the playoffs and these key games. So it's. I mean, I think summer league's very important in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, like I said a little bit ago, it's like a practice game. It's like the preseason for the NBA, a preseason because the NBA still has a preseason, right before the season starts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hard work pays off. I mean, we put a lot of hard work into producing. What's the other word I want to use, Corey? I just lost my thought. Editing, and then promoting. To get our information. Out there about, across the goal on our podcast. And by the way, I forgot to mention at the start of the episode, I know I like to get off track. Story time with Luke. Anyways, as I said last week, we made merchandise. And I said it'll be here soon. Well, we got some good news. It's here. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's pictures on there of our merchandise. Hit us up, message us, whatever you got to do. Let us know if you want one. We will ship if you are located, out of state. So I just want to throw that out there. I really don't know what else to say about the NBA Summer League. I think Derek really said enough, said a lot of good information. But I'll send it over to Corey right now, and then let's see if Derek really has anything else to say, and then get his preview for next season, and with all the young talent in the NBA, and then maybe a prediction for the finals next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't really want to go into that. I mean, it is way too early. It's kind of hard to gauge it right now.
I mean, it's a way too early prediction. I mean, the season. Yeah, I know the season just got over, but I mean, we could all give a way too early prediction. I mean, we might be right, we might be wrong. Who the hell cares?
I mean, we can do it real quick. We'll start with Derek, I guess, since we brought him on the show. Derek, who do you think could possibly, maybe, make the finals this year. Hopefully, maybe we can get a little bit of change here after 2 straight years of Cavs Warriors.
Before I make my predictions, I always just think about, like a team can just lose their players to injury, especially the Warriors. Now they gave up all those role players that were very pivotal to their team. Now they're just all in different locations now, and they traded him for one guy. I mean, KD. I mean, I love him, but if he goes down, they could be in trouble. Like, maybe they won't even make it back. But right now, I mean, if we're talking about everybody being healthy, it's hard not to say Warriors, Cavs. I mean,
exactly.
They're the most talented teams right now.
I mean, it is hard to say that. I like to try to go off of that. I try to diverge away from that, maybe make some more bolder predictions, I would say. But, I mean, I've been on record saying that I don't know if this Warriors thing will work with these 4 guys, how all their egos will coexist with each other.
I mean, Draymond Green.
I mean, yeah, you got
he's
Draymond
been in
Green.
trouble past month and a half.
You talk about injuries, Draymond Green, he could maybe do something, get suspended, or suspensions or something.
So, I mean, I like to see what's going to happen, like what's going to go on like during the season. I'm looking forward to that. Like, I don't want to be cliche saying, "Oh, Warriors, Cavs," because I know everybody's going to say that right now. But
I know, because plus it'll just make it boring. No one will want to watch it because we're like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion that these 2 teams are going to play each other.
Right.
So I like to maybe pick 2 different teams maybe out of the East. I'm really looking forward to what the Pacers can do this year. You have Paul George. He's been great every single season lately. He's been getting better and better each season.
Yes.
So he's been great. They picked up Jeff Teague this offseason through trade, picking him up from Atlanta. So he adds a little better point guard at the point guard position over George Hill, who went to, I think, Utah. Ended up going to Utah, I do believe, in that deal. Also, they have a nice draft pick from last season, Miles Turner. He played really well last year. He's developing, getting better as well. So you got all those guys plus all the other players on that team. I think they can maybe upset the Cavs. Also, you can look at Toronto, possibly. They were close last season. They picked up Jared Soldier in the free agency. They also lost Bismack Biyombo, who was pretty good in that series in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Bismarcky.
No. Bismack Biyombo. He went to the Magic. One of those 2 teams could possibly knock off the Cavs. It's hard to go against the Cavs right now. They have all the players pretty much that they've had last couple of seasons. They didn't really lose anybody like the Warriors did. Out west, I mean, the Spurs always are very good. It's hard to go against them too, but the Warriors as well. I'm always big on the Spurs. Tim Duncan retired, but he wasn't really doing much last season anyway. He was just kind of more defensive than anything. Big reason why they were one of the top defensive teams in the league. But if I had to choose a team right now, two teams, I'll pick the Pacers just because I like them. I don't want to pick the Cavs. And I'll go Spurs, Pacers just because I don't want to pick Warriors, Cavs.
All right. I mean, what the hell, Corey? You should have known I was going to do this.
Celtics.
Well, I could say the Celtics, but I mean,
Wow.
I did bring this up. I'm going to just have to agree with Derek. I mean, it is way too early. I don't know why I, even asked the question, but, we're here now. We're here talking about it. Yeah. It probably was a stupid idea at the moment I said it, but, oh well. And I'd really like to see the 2 worst teams, make the finals next year, but that sure as hell ain't going to happen. Derek would actually love that because I think he'd, agree that the Sixers are one of the 2 worst teams in the league.
I'm just hoping for 30 wins next year. That'd make me real happy.
But yeah, I'd have to, if something happens to somebody on the Warriors, then I don't think they'll make the finals. But if they all stay healthy, I think the Warriors will go to the finals and play probably the Cavaliers and LeBron James. I mean, look what he did in Miami. As much as I hate him, look what he did in Miami. Went to 4 straight finals, won 2 of them. So it's gonna be the Cavs and the Warriors right now in next year's finals. But I mean, as we said, this is a way too early prediction. We might be wrong. We might be right though as well. So I mean, what were you about ready to say there, Derek?
Well, I was gonna say, just add in, like you said, the depth is very important when you get to the finals, because I think it's very important because if you look at the past few, you've seen well, especially last year, not this past finals, but the year the Cavs were beat in 5 games. Lost Kevin Love, lost Kyrie. I mean, two of the players they really traded a lot for, and that could have helped them. Like Andrew Wiggins definitely could have helped them. I always say that he could have locked down on either Curry or Clay in that series. So, I mean, they gave him up, and basically the Warriors are just doing the same thing as what the Cavs did, because they just traded away they had to get rid of. They had no choice. They had to get rid of about 4 or 5 key role players on their team that have been big for them. One of them was Barbosa, who I think was one of their best players, honestly, in this year's finals. And they got rid of him. He went back to Phoenix. So, I mean, I'm real big on depth. Once you get into the playoff action, like you gotta have it, or else I don't know. These guys can't take the pressure and everything like that. Like, they're out there every night for 48 minutes. Like, they can't. It's hard on them. Like, you need players to like come in and take some of the load off. Like, depth is very important in like the playoff play.
All right then, Derek. I think that's where we'll wrap it up with NBA Summer League. But before we do, obviously we said we're recording at the Clearfield County Fair. If you hear stuff in the background, as we said earlier, there is noise going on right now. There is an event tonight. So, but yeah, Derek, I believe you can follow him on Twitter at dboy035. If I'm not mistaken.
035. I mean, I would have put D-Boy Trey 5. Like, I think somebody stole that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Twitter handles out there I'd like to have, and other people have them too. But you can follow him on Twitter. He always tweets a lot of good information. Be sure to give him a follow. Be sure to add him on Facebook if you want to be friends with him. I don't know why you would, but and then you can follow him on Instagram too. He posts some pictures here and there. But yeah, like I said, I think that's where we'll leave it at for the NBA Summer League. Probably won't talk any basketball here on Across the Goal Line until October, just because football season will start this weekend. And as Derek said a little bit ago too, he's a diehard, basketball fan. He likes to watch, basketball all year long. As most people know, I'm a diehard football fan. Hell, I talked about the AFL, the Arena Football League, and the CFL, the Canadian Football League, last week. So, it gives us something to watch, be entertained, and, basketball is a fun sport. We both played it together. Actually, all 3 of us played together at one point growing up for Clearfield. The Bisons, not Bison, as they like to say now. It's the Bisons. Follow Derek on Twitter at dboy035. There's a helicopter rolling around us right now, looking for something. I don't know. I'm just rambling on right now. Do you have anything else to say, Corey?
Not much. Just
now?
Thanks to Derek for coming on the show today, helping us with that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We'll be glad to have you again, possibly.
Yeah, I'd be glad to be back. You guys do a great job with this podcast. I mean, I hope it continues to grow.
Well, thank you. And like I said, probably won't be doing any basketball until October because there isn't any on until then. So we'll leave it at that.
All right, now we transition into the MLB trade deadline that just ended Monday afternoon as guys got dealt all over the place. We'll get into them right now. The Miami Marlins got a Cashner from the Padres to add to their starting rotation. That's already pretty decent. He just pitched, I think, last night even. So he's already made his debut for the Padres.
He's had 2 starts now already, I think, for him.
Actually, 2? Oh,
yeah,
really?
Because he was traded a couple days before the deadline. I know he pitched the day before the deadline, this past Sunday, the 31st. So if he pitched again last night, it was on
I think it was
short
recent.
rest.
Yes.
But I know he's had at least 1 start already for the Marlins.
All right.
The funny thing about that trade, though, I don't know if you're about ready to say this, but Colin Ray was traded from the Padres to the Marlins, and then he was the first one to pitch between him and Cashner, and he actually got injured in his first appearance with the Marlins 3 innings in, and they had to put him on the 15-day disabled list. So what does the Miami Marlins do? They traded him back to San Diego, where they just got him, for Louis Castillo, who was also in the trade, but obviously that's how that trade happened. So really there's 2 trades in that one big trade.
Yeah. Speaking of the Padres, they traded another guy, Matt Kemp, to the Braves as he moves. He was once a pretty good player for the Dodgers. It was a pretty big move when he went to San Diego, but San Diego hasn't done anything recently, so they're trading him over to Atlanta now.
Yeah, that's why
another pretty bad team, by the way.
That's why they're selling this year. They also traded Melvin Upton Jr. B.J. Upton was his nickname that he used for a long time, really, in his young MLB career. They traded him to the Blue Jays for a pitching prospect.
Yeah. Going more teams that are in the hunt, more so here in the playoffs. The Washington Nationals, my favorite team. They get closer Mark Melancon from the Pirates.
My Pirates, I don't know why they traded him at first.
And he'll help those closers there, helping out Papelbon. Andrew Miller, the left-hander, goes from the Yankees to the Indians. Also, speaking of the Yankees, they're sellers in this trade deadline. They traded away Carlos Beltran to Texas, who also got Jonathan Lucroy, the catcher from the Brewers, who's having a great season.
Who could have went to the Indians,
yes,
but he decided to decline the no-trade clause. So then, what do the Indians do? They go out and trade for Andrew Miller, as you said just a couple seconds ago.
Yeah, so now Texas gets those 2 guys. Josh Reddick and Rich Hill are going to the Dodgers, coming over from Oakland. The big thing about Josh Reddick is he's replacing Yasiel Puig. The Yasiel Puig, who they were trying to trade, they didn't trade him, and so they demote him to the minors as they get Josh Reddick. He's playing in Puig's place now, out in the outfield. So now Puig is now down in the minor leagues now. He was a top prospect for him coming up from Cuba. So
maybe they try to trade him in the offseason.
That's probably what they're going to do. They were trying to. There was trade deadline. I couldn't.
Another name that didn't get traded at the deadline was the White Sox pitcher Chris Sale. There was a whole big debate a couple days before, about a week before the trade deadline. He had an argument with front office management, and they were supposed to have a jersey night for him, and then he was supposed to pitch, and then he didn't, and then got suspended by the team, and they thought they were going to trade him. They didn't. So another name to look out for this offseason is Chris Sale, who was a top 10 pick back in 2010, excuse me.
Yeah, you just have to pay too much to get him, though. That's the problem, mostly. Last guy I've written down is Jay Bruce going to the Mets, coming over from the Reds. I don't know if you have any more you want to add.
Tyler Clippard is going back to the New York Yankees. As you said, they sold in the trade with the Cubs and Aroldis Chapman. The Yankees traded Chapman and the Cubs before the deadline. We almost forgot about that. I
was about to mention it.
Okay, you were about ready to mention it. They got 5 prospects in that deal, and then in the deal with Carlos Beltran going to the Rangers, they got another 3 prospects. So the Yankees, as you said, they sold. They got a lot of young talent, as does pretty much every sport nowadays. As I said a little bit ago, talking about the NBA, and the Yankees have the players that are under the age of 30. Jay Bruce from the Reds to the Mets, Indians, Miller, Matt Kemp from the Braves, Lucroy Indians. Just going through mine that I had ready to roll for today. The Yankees also traded another pitcher, Ivan Nova. He got traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates for 2 players to be named later. We'll have to see who they are. The Pirates also made another trade. They traded John Neese, who they traded Neil Walker for last offseason. The hometown kid, no longer in Pittsburgh, and now John Neese isn't even in Pittsburgh halfway at the halfway point of his first season in the Berg. And they traded for Antonio Bastardo, who the Pirates had last season, and cash. So Steve Pearce went to the Orioles as well. Matt Moore from the Rays to the Giants. The Pirates also made another trade. They traded a pitcher, Francisco Liriano, former Minnesota Twin and Chicago White Sox before he was a Pirate. They traded him to the Toronto Blue Jays for right-handed pitcher Drew Hutchinson, who is a AAA pitcher, young pitcher. As I said, there's a lot of young talent, and I'll say that a lot more. And they gave up to big key young players in their farm system. Outfielder Harold Ramirez, and then catcher Reese McGuire, who I could understand letting Ramirez go, but Reese McGuire, I thought, he would, take over for Francisco Cervelli, after his deal was up. Yeah, I know he just signed a new 3-year deal a couple weeks into the season this year, but, still, he has been injured somewhat this season, and what if things don't work out with that? Pirates have had tons of catchers, literally tons of catchers, since they opened PNC Park, it seems like, back in 2001. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's really any notable trades that we should talk about here, this week.
Move on from that.
We'll leave it at that, and we'll move on. We'll move on to the Olympics.
No, I want to get into who
I
think has done well in the trade deadline.
Okay.
I know you didn't want to. I won't worry about you doing it because you didn't have anything for it. I'll get into it, though. The Rangers, of course, getting Beltran and Lucroy, the help team that's already in playoff position, leading the AL West. They're going to move forward. Definitely the favorite to win the AL West now, especially for me. The Nationals getting Mark Melancon from Pittsburgh. That helps a lot. Papelbon has not been that great as a closer this year, so hopefully they're going to get a reliable reliever here to help them tremendously, because their last couple of seasons where they've been in the playoffs, they've been scarred by some blown saves that have really hurt them and lost big pivotal games in the playoffs as they were trying to move forward to get in the World Series. Also, the Indians, they picking up Miller. I think that's a big help to them. They're another team that's in the lead of their division, trying to pick up a guy like Miller to help them stay there and get into the playoffs, maybe make a World Series run. And, of course, the Yankees, we said it a bunch of times already. They were the big sellers pretty much. They parted way with many big names, Chapman, Beltran, and Miller, and just to name a few, just to name those three guys, as they're looking to rebuild with that younger team. And you see that a lot. Like, look at the Astros last season. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, period. And now look at them. They're in position to possibly make the playoffs as a wild card right now, but they were in the playoffs last season, had a pretty good run, made a mistake in the playoffs and ended up costing them against the Royals. But, yeah, moving forward, teams need to be younger. Also, they're talking about Alex Rodriguez possibly getting rid of him or him retiring in the coming seasons. So they're definitely looking to be younger, going to more like the Lakers now, where the Lakers are now that way. They need to get younger with all this young talent. So that's my take on it. And now, as you were saying, we'll go to the Olympic Games.
Well, hold on. I want to stop you there now. That was actually my bad. I thought he was moving into the Olympics a couple minutes ago, but obviously not. Now we are. But I didn't want to give my thoughts on, everything, because normally I like to, stick with my gut feeling, with my prediction from the start on who I would want in the playoffs, winning their respective divisions and, playing as wildcard teams. So go back and watch it. I think it was episode 14 when we had our second special guest on talking MLB and the All-Star break. So you can go back and listen to that for my opinion on everything. But now...
Yes, now the Olympics.
The
Olympics live from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Technically, they are underway right now. I know a few events have kicked off, a lot of the longer events. I know women's soccer, officially, I know that much. I'm not 100% sure on everything else. But the opening ceremony is not until Friday, live on NBC and the NBC Sports networks, across all of their networks, pretty much. But the Olympics, the whole month here of August pretty much is going to be dominated by the Olympics, sports-wise.
Next 3 weeks.
And
we'll have coverage for you.
So many events, like over 300 events, 28 different sports, a bunch of sports you don't normally see in the limelight, especially in America, swimming and track and field, that type of stuff. You don't see that in America, primarily on television, ESPN, all those other sports networks. So it's a great chance for athletes and these sports to try to showcase themselves on a big stage, and mostly the athletes too, trying to represent their country and to bring home that gold medal.
And we're obviously going to wish and want the United States of America to do well at the 2016 Summer Games from Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro beat out Madrid, Spain, Tokyo, Japan, and Chicago, Illinois of the United States here in the bidding process to host these 2016 Summer Olympics. Tokyo will host the 2020 games. Last time they hosted was 1964. And then, as you said, there's a lot of events that you don't normally get to see. Well, these two sports that I'm about ready to talk about, we get to see pretty much all the time. It's baseball and softball. They announced it yesterday that they're coming back to the Olympics for the first time in a while. So happy for that. They need to bring wrestling back if they already haven't. I don't know if they did or not. So, but yeah, move on with what you're saying there, Corey. I lost my train of thought again, as I always do.
Well, I mean, I was just going to wrap it up here saying that we're going to keep covering the Olympics over these 3 weeks. We'll have about 2 or 3, maybe, updates on the Olympics. Mostly, we're just going to give you medal counts, where the countries stand in terms of medals, how many gold, silver, and bronze, my bad, how many they got, totals, and also some of the events that have wrapped up over the past week as we go through it. Some of the more key events, you could say, more iconic, more relevant events, I would say, I don't know. That's probably what we're going to do for the next couple weeks. As we do the Olympics, there'll be a feature here on the Across the Goal Line for the next couple weeks. So I think it's now time to get to the end of the show, and that means goal line stand, of course. The couple questions here. Just minor questions. 2 of them are about contracts, and another couple are Olympic related. So Russell Westbrook, he agreed to an extension to stay in OKC for 3 years.
I was real surprised.
So what does this mean for them next season and moving forward? Because he was supposed to be a free agent next year.
Yes, he's obviously the face of the franchise now after re-signing with the Thunder, your favorite team. I'm sure you're real happy about that, Corey.
Sure.
Maybe not, though. I don't know. But a name to keep an eye out for free agency next summer now is Blake Griffin. He attended Oklahoma University in Norman. Boomer Sooner. Good old JR, Toby Keith. Toby Keith is a country music singer. Is one of my favorite artists. JR is a wrestling announcer, known for his time in WWF, WWE. They're 2 well-known Oklahoma fans. They're always at football games or basketball games, whatever sport, attending and representing, Oklahoma. They're good old Okies, as Merle Haggard would like to say. He was an Okie from Muskogee. But what the hell was I even talking about? Russell Westbrook. That's right. That's what you asked me about. But yeah, name to keep an eye out is Blake Griffin to possibly join Westbrook now in Oklahoma City. Since Kevin Durant left to go to Golden State, and maybe they have two big superstars in Oklahoma City then starting next season.
All right. Second question: the 49ers have locked up Navarro Bowman for another 4 years. Does that really make a difference for them, considering how poor they've been the last couple seasons?
Well, I mean, Navarro Bowman played at Penn State. He's one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. Penn State's known as Linebacker U. Well-known linebackers, coming through Happy Valley. Most notably, LeVar Arrington. Look up the LeVar Leap on YouTube. He jumped over the whole defensive lineman and the offensive lineman and tackled the running back in the backfield. But Bowman, it was a 4-year extension for $44. He was already on for 3 years, so it's a 7-year, $77 million. If I didn't hear you say that, that's my bad. But it does mean a lot for the 49ers because he is one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. He has had some down years the past 2-3 years. He had a gruesome knee injury in the NFC Championship game right before Super Bowl 48 when they lost to the Seattle Seahawks. He was taken out. I forget who it was on the Seahawks, but he blew his knee out. He tore his ACL, MCL, meniscus, pretty much everything in his knee. And then he had to sit out the whole next season. And this past year was really the first season he was fully back. So hopefully Navarro Bowman doesn't get hurt again and San Francisco doesn't cut him. Really, he's the face of the defense now since Patrick Willis retired after 2 seasons ago because of concussion issues, I believe. Might have been knee injuries as well. But Sean Lee's another name to look out for. Maybe he gets an extension here with the Dallas Cowboys. He's another Penn State linebacker, another good linebacker from Penn State. You know me, I like to talk about my Penn State football anytime I can get the chance to. But yeah, Bowman, they locked him up. Congratulations to you, and wish you the best of luck in the future here, and maybe you're an NFL Hall of Famer when you retire.
All right, question of the week time. It's about the Olympics. What event are you most excited for in the Olympics?
Well, I'm a guy. I'm going to have to say women's beach volleyball.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Enough said. I mean, don't really need to think hard about that one, why I said that.
But I'll watch all the basketball games as well. I'll watch a lot of the events. It's fun to watch the Olympics. They only come around once every 4 years.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Michael Phelps' return to the pool, Olympic pool, trying to add on to his record 22 medals in the Olympics. So maybe he can get another 1 or 2. I think he's in a couple events. Maybe the butterfly, I know for sure, his favorite event, most known for. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up this week here on Across the Goal Line. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. All those links available in the description of this video. Answer the question week on Facebook or Twitter by voting our poll. We won't have one this week because of the question. Either way, you can follow Luke at KawhiLuke96 on Twitter and me, CAMains14 on Twitter as well. Also, don't forget to buy our merch that we've been talking about.
Yes, I was just ready to say that.
Which you can contact us about using all those social media platforms or emailing us at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com.
T-shirts and hats available. Please buy them.
And for Luke Goddessart, I'm Corey Mains, and we will see you on the next edition of Across the Goal Line, live from the field.